The forbidden skiff, the planet Viridara, was quiet, covered in glowing purple trees and soft golden mist. It was a place few humans had visited. The Valari people lived there, tall, graceful aliens who always wore thin silver veils over their faces. They never showed their skin. No mirrors were allowed. No one knew why Jace, a young human explorer, didn't come for trouble. He crash-landed his small ship near the mountains after a power failure. Injured and cold, he limped through the forest, hoping to find help or shelter. His face was scratched, his arm bleeding. The wind cut through his jacket, and every step hurt. That's when she found him. Seyra. She stood still between the trees, her silver veil shining under the moonlight. She didn't speak, just watched him carefully, like a wild animal judging whether to run or help. Finally, she stepped forward and reached out her hand. "You. Human?" she said softly. Jace was too tired to be surprised. He nodded and then collapsed in the snow. He woke up inside a warm cave made of smooth crystal. A fire burned gently in a carved bowl, casting orange light on the walls. Sarah sat nearby, watching him. Her long white robe covered her from neck to feet. Her veil still hid her face. "You saved me," Jace said weakly. "You were dying," she answered. "That is not allowed." Jace didn't understand what she meant, but he smiled. "Thank you." She looked away. No one must know. Over. The next 2 days, Sarah brought him food, strange but tasty roots and warm drinks. She didn't talk much. Jace could tell she was afraid. Every time they heard a sound outside, she froze. On the 3rd morning, Jace wanted to give her something, a kothin. Small gift to show his thanks. He opened a pouch on his belt and pulled out a small round mirror, only the size of his palm. It was a simple thing, with a bronze edge and a polished glass center. He held it out to her. "Here, it's a mirror. It shows your face." Sarah didn't move. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. "We are not allowed to see." Jace blinked. "What do you mean? Our people? We are forbidden from looking at our reflection. It is an ancient rule." "But why?" She looked down. "They say it brings madness. It opens something inside." Jace frowned. "It's just a mirror." He placed it gently on the stone in front of her. "You don't have to use it, but it's yours." Sarah stared at it for a long time. She didn't touch it, didn't speak. That night, after Jace had fallen asleep, she picked it up with shaking hands. Her breath quickened. She looked around. No one was watching. She lifted her veil. Her face was beautiful, soft purple skin, deep silver eyes, high cheekbones. She had never seen it before. Slowly, she turned the mirror toward herself, and the world around her changed. The firelight flickered strangely. Her heart raced. She felt something in her mind shift like a door opening. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel small or hidden. She felt real and powerful. A soft voice echoed in her head. "You are not broken. You are forgotten. Remember who you are." She dropped the mirror and gasped. The voice vanished. She sat in silence, holding her veil back over her face, breathing hard. The mirror lay at her feet, harmless, quiet, and yet dangerous. Her hands shook, but not from fear. From something else. The next morning, she returned the mirror to Jace. "You must take it back," she said. "Why?" "What happened?" "I saw," she whispered. "And now I can't forget." Jace looked at her, confused and worried. "What did you see?" "Myself," she said. "And something more. Something I was never supposed to know." Outside, a wind howled. From far away, a silver-cloaked elder of her people opened his eyes. Something had changed. Something old and dangerous had been touched. The forbidden gift had been given. And now, nothing would be the same. The reaction no one expected. Sarah walked through the glowing trees with a strange heaviness in her chest. Her fingers still remembered the feel of the mirror. The voice in her head, soft, ancient, powerful, still echoed like a whisper through her bones. Her people warned for generations, never see yourself. Never awaken what sleeps inside. But she had seen and now, something inside her had changed. She returned to her small stone hut, hidden deep in the forest, far from the main Valari settlement. Her hands trembled as she removed her silver veil and looked at her reflection once more, this time in a pool of still water. The face looking back was not evil or broken. It was beautiful. She smiled, but only for a second. Suddenly, the water shimmered and a golden flash blinked across her vision. Sarah stepped back in shock. The reflection was gone. The pool was normal again. She pressed a hand to her forehead. Her skin was hot. She didn't feel sick, but her mind felt wider, like it was stretching. Waking up after a long sleep, she remembered the voice. You are not broken. You are forgotten. Forgotten? Forgotten by who? Later that night, she returned to Jace's cave with food. He smiled when he saw her, but she didn't return it. You look tired, he said. I did not sleep, she answered. He studied her closely. Did something happen? She sat down slowly, placing the food on a cloth between them. I think I heard something, or someone, from the mirror. A voice. Jace raised his eyebrows. A voice? She said. I was forgotten, that I must remember who I am. Jace looked confused but curious. Do you think it's magic? Sarah shook her head. No, it felt like memory. Like something old inside me was waking up. Silence fell between them. Then she asked, Are there things humans are not allowed to remember? Jace laughed gently. Oh, lots of things. But most of them are just lies someone made to control others. Sarah grew quiet. Her mind was racing. Was her entire life a lie? Far away, in the high tower of Valari elders, a red crystal pulsed with light. Elder Macon, an old stern male, stood before it with his hands raised. She has touched the mirror, he said aloud. Other elders gathered in a circle. Then it begins, one whispered. We must stop it, said another. Before the fire spreads again. She's just one girl, Macon said coldly. But the mirror has awoken her blood. She is no longer safe. Back in the cave, Jace sat across from Sarah, still thinking. You've never seen yourself before? Hey, asked. No, it is forbidden from birth. Why? They say we go mad. That something inside us breaks if we see our true face. Jace frowned. Or maybe something inside you wakes up. Sarah looked down. Jace leaned forward. Maybe that's why they banned it. Not because it's dangerous, but because it's powerful. Sarah said nothing. But a storm had already started inside her mind. That night when Jace was asleep again, she walked out of the cave and into the forest. The sky above was filled with glowing stars. A voice kept calling to her, gentle but firm. She followed it. Through twisting trees and whispering winds, she reached the edge of a canyon. There, she found something half buried in the soil, an old stone tablet with strange markings. She brushed the dirt away. The writing was in her people's tongue, but older than any she had seen. To see is not madness, it is awakening. We were queens once until they covered our faces with shame. Her hands shook. She stepped back, breathing hard. Queens? Her people were ruled by elders, always male, always cold, always strict. But this tablet said Valari women were once leaders, rulers of their own destiny. The mirror hadn't made her mad. It had shown her the truth. Sarah returned to the cave with wild eyes and trembling hands. She sat beside Jace and stared at him. Until he woke. Sarah, what's wrong? I need to know everything about mirrors, she said. About reflections. About what happens when people see themselves for the first time. Jace sat up. Why? Because, she whispered, my people didn't hide mirrors to protect us. They hid them to silence us. And somewhere deep, in the Valari city, Elder Macon stood before his soldiers. Bring her to the council. before she spreads the truth. The mirror's curse or gift. Asterisk Sarah sat near the fire, the mirror resting silently in her hands. Her fingers traced its edge again and again, as if trying to feel the truth hiding inside it. She had seen her face. She had heard a voice. And now she couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Something was changing inside her. JSE watched her carefully. He had seen many strange things across the galaxy: alien storms, time warp fields, even planets that sang. But he had never seen a mirror drive someone into such deep silence. "You okay?" he asked softly. Sarah didn't look at him. "No." Jace leaned forward. "What's happening to you?" She finally looked up. Her silver eyes glowed slightly in the firelight. "The mirror didn't curse me. It opened me. And now I see things." "What kind of things?" "Dreams, visions. I close my eyes and I see a great hall filled with light. Women in silver robes stand together. One of them looks like me. She stands at the front, holding a staff." "Made of glass," Jace blinked. "That sounds like a memory." "It feels real," Sarah whispered. "Like something I once lived." He hesitated. "Could it be from your ancestors? Some kind of genetic memory?" Sarah nodded slowly. "Maybe, or maybe the mirror is a key." Jace stood and walked to the cave entrance. "Then that means someone locked something away." Sarah stared at the mirror. "And now it's unlocking." In the Valari capital, Elder Macon stood before a wall of smoke and whispers. It was called the Chamber of Silence, where thoughts were stored and secrets were buried. He waved his hand, activating the wall. A glowing image appeared. Sarah's face. She was marked now. The mirror had touched her spirit. She was dangerous. The other elders gathered behind Macon, their faces hidden behind red veils. "It has begun." "Again," one said. "Do we inform the people?" asked another. Macon's voice was cold. "No. The last time women looked into mirrors, we lost control. We cannot allow another awakening." "But she is just one girl." "One girl." "Was." "Enough last time," Macon growled. They activated the mark of capture. All seekers would now hunt Sarah, to bring her back before her mind awakened fully. That evening, Sarah returned to the forest pool. This time, she looked into the water on purpose. The surface rippled, and again, her reflection appeared calm. Steady, glowing faintly, the voice returned. "You see clearly now." Sarah swallowed hard. "Who are you?" "I am Valari, the true Valari, before we were silenced." She closed her eyes. "Why did they take our faces away?" "Because they feared the fire in our eyes. They feared what we saw in ourselves." Suddenly, Sarah saw flashes: a woman holding a mirror before a crowd, shouting truth. A riot, flames, and then silence. A metal veil lowered over her eyes, locking her away. She gasped and stepped back. The voice whispered one last thing. "The mirror is not the curse. The lie is." Back in the cave, Sarah shared everything with Jace. "They erased us," she said. "My people, the women. We were leaders, healers, keepers of memory. But they erased our role. Told us we'd go mad if we remembered." Jace clenched his fists. "It's control. Just like history on Earth. People in power always rewrite truth to stay in power." She looked at him. "Can you help me find the place from my visions?" "The Silver Hall? Describe it." "It has 10 glowing pillars and a mirror wall that stretches into the sky." Jace pulled out his scanner and scanned the mountain ranges. "There's a buried structure about 12 kilometers north of here. Could be ruins, old tech, no heat signatures." She stood up. "Take me there." He looked worried. "Are you sure?" "If we go, there's no going back. They'll come for you." Sarah lifted the mirror and placed it over her heart. "They already are." As they moved through the forest under moonlight, 2 shadowy Valari scouts followed them from the trees, silent and fast. They didn't attack yet. They waited for command, Elder. Macon watched from his crystal table, eyes narrowed. Follow them to the source, he said. And when she finds the ancient hall, destroy it. Meanwhile, Sarah and Jace reached the ancient ruin just before dawn. It was hidden beneath vines and stone. A narrow passage led down into the mountain. The walls were smooth, man-made, not natural. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. This is it, she whispered. I've been here before. In dreams. They entered slowly, torches in hand. Symbols lined the walls, female faces, mirrored eyes, open hands. They reached a large circular room. In its center was a massive cracked mirror wall covered in dust, but still glowing faintly. Sarah stepped forward. The voice returned louder now. You have found the Hall of Truth. Will you remember, Sarah of the Veil? She touched the glass with her bare hand, and the entire chamber lit up with firelight. Memory and ancient song. The trial of light and lies as Sarah's hand touched the cracked mirror wall. A wave of golden light spread across the chamber. The air shimmered. Strange whispers circled around her ears, not frightening, but familiar. Old voices, soft, powerful, female voices. Jay stepped back, shielding his eyes. What's happening? Sarah didn't move. Her body glowed faintly, her feet lifting just an inch from the floor. The mirror wall projected a floating image into the air, a tall Velari woman with silver markings on her face and no veil. Her presence was commanding, royal. She spoke directly to Sarah. You carry the forgotten bloodline. You are the seed we left behind. Now you must decide silence or truth. Sarah gasped. Who are you? I am Queen Alaris, last of the Mirrorborn. Before the Great Hiding, I ruled with balance, until the elders chained our sight. Tears slipped down Sarah's cheek. She had never heard her people speak of queens, only elders, only obedience, only silence. We did not fall, we were erased, said the queen's voice. But our memories remain in every daughter. Suddenly, pain struck Sarah's forehead. Visions filled her eyes, crowds of women burning their veils, holding mirrors up to each other's faces, dancing with light and joy. Then, flames, a tall elder shouting, silence them. Silence the madness, and then darkness. Sarah collapsed. Jace caught her just before she hit the floor. Her breathing was heavy, her eyes wide. I saw everything. Jace helped her sit up. What now? We show the others, she whispered. They must know, but will they listen? They don't need to listen, she said, standing slowly. They only need to see. But someone else had seen too. Above ground, in the trees. The hidden Velari scouts activated a signal beacon. A red flare shot into the sky. Within moments, a low rumble spread through the mountains. The elders were coming. Back in the city, Elder. Macon stared at the rising flare from his tall tower. Activate the purifiers, he ordered. They've reached the mirror hall. A young male guard hesitated. But that structure is sacred. Macon's voice became ice. It is poison. They must not spread it again. He turned to the circle of elders behind him. If she awakens the others, our rule ends. Sarah and Jace rushed down a back tunnel in the ruins. The air around them had changed, more alive, more aware. The queen's voice still echoed faintly. Truth is not given, it is claimed. They emerged from the tunnel and saw a wide stone platform. On it stood 10 mirror pillars, dusty but still glowing. Sarah walked among them, touching each one. With every touch, a pulse of light shot into the sky. They're beacons, she said. Calling to the others. Others? Jace asked, Velari. Women, all of them. They've all felt this same emptiness. They just don't know what's missing. Suddenly, thunder cracked above. Black airships appeared, Velari hunter crafts. Sarah looked up, unafraid. Jace grabbed her arm. We need to. Run. No, she said firmly. This is the moment they fear. Not me, the truth. The airships hovered. A voice echoed from a speaker above. Sarah of the Veil, you are charged with spirit corruption, mirror exposure, and memory theft. Surrender at once. She didn't move. Then she stepped onto the platform and raised her hands. Her veil fluttered. Off her face like falling silk. The mirror pillars responded instantly. A blast of light erupted from them, shooting skyward. The clouds parted. A strange hum filled the air. All across the Villari lands. Hidden chambers, crystals, and ancient stones lit up. In distant villages, Villari women gasped and dropped their tools. Their hearts pounded. Their hands trembled. Something was awakening. Inside all of them. Back on the platform, Jay stepped beside Sarah. What did you do? I reminded them who they are, she whispered, from the ship above. Elder Macon's voice growled. You have declared war. Sarah didn't flinch. No, I've declared memory. Macon gave the signal. The ship fired a warning shot. Platform shook, stones cracking. But the pillars stood strong. The Queen's voice returned, louder than ever. They cannot unsee what is now seen. The veil has fallen. Jace grabbed Sarah as more blasts hit around them. We have to move. She looked back once at the pillars. Then they ran. The ruins behind them collapsed in smoke and fire. But the light in the sky remained. The message had already been sent. In the capital, women gathered in secret places holding old polished stones. Old polished metal, anything reflective. One by one, they looked into them. And for the first time in generations, they saw themselves, and they remembered. Escape and the hidden chamber smoke rose behind them as the mirror pillars crumbled under the Elder's fire. Sarah ran beside Jace through the forest, her breath quick and sharp, her heart beating like thunder. The voices had gone quiet, but the light in the sky remained. They'll keep hunting us, Jace said, ducking under a branch. I know, Sarah answered. I saw Macon's face in the light. He will not stop. They reached a river and paused for breath. Sarah knelt, cupped water in her hands, and splashed it on her face. Her reflection in the ripples flickered, still glowing faintly. The others saw it too, she whispered. They can't stop all of us now. Jace looked back toward the mountain. But they'll try. Just then, a shadow moved behind the trees. Sarah turned sharply. We're not alone. An old Villari woman stepped out, wrapped in tattered brown cloth. Her veil was torn, her skin lined with age, but her eyes were fierce and clear. I've been waiting for you, she said. Seyra. Step forward. Who are you? I am called Nira. I was a mirror seer once. Before they made us blind. Jace raised an eyebrow. You saw the light? Nira smiled. I never stopped seeing. I kept the old ways hidden. And now you've brought them back, she motioned to follow. Come, there is one more place you must see. They followed Nira deeper into the woods, past old broken statues and vines that glowed softly in the moonlight. Finally, they reached a stone arch hidden behind heavy branches. This is one of the last hidden chambers, Nira said. Buried during the Great Hiding. Only those who carry the light can open it. Sarah stepped forward. As her hand touched the stone, it pulsed with warmth. The ground trembled, and the door slowly opened with a deep, ancient sound. Inside was silence. The chamber was round, with mirror shards embedded into the walls like fallen stars. In the center was a small pedestal holding a silver cube, smooth and shining. Sarah reached for it. Nira stopped her gently. Before you touch it, understand, this is the last memory crystal of Queen Alaris. It holds her truth, her voice, her pain. Once it enters your mind, it cannot be undone. Sarah looked at Jace, then back at Nira. I was never meant to stay silent, she said. She placed her hand on the cube. Light exploded from it, bright, sharp, and filled with song. Inside her mind, Sarah stood in a vast hall of glass. Queen Alaris. stood before her again. If you have come here, then our time is near. Sarah nodded. Your people forgot you. No, they were made to forget, but you remembered. You must carry my voice. Not in whispers, but in fire. Flashes of the Queen's last days filled Sarah's mind, her final speech, the rebellion, the betrayal by her own council, and the veils forced upon every woman in her bloodline. Our power was never madness, the Queen said. It was clarity, and clarity frightens those who build their kingdoms on lies. Sarah opened her eyes. The chamber returned. Tears ran silently down her cheeks. I saw everything, she said. The truth was never dangerous. Only their fear of it. Nira handed her a silver band from the altar. This is the Queen's voice band. It connects your thoughts to all who carry mirror blood. Speak with it, and they will feel your truth. Sarah took it. How long do we have before they find us? Nira sighed. Not long. Just as she spoke, the ground above shook. They found the trail. Jay said. Seyra stood tall. Then we don't run. Above the chamber, Elder Macon's soldiers landed. Their boots crashed against the mossy earth. Each one carried a weapon of purification designed to erase mirror memory with one blast. Macon himself arrived moments later. She is below, he growled. Destroy the chamber. Bury her with their lies. But as they prepared to fire, the trees around them began to glow. One by one, Velari women stepped from the shadows. Dozens, then hundreds. Some held broken mirrors. Some just stood, barefaced, no longer afraid. One spoke. We've seen our faces. We remember who we are. Macon shouted. You are under Forbidden's influence. Another woman stepped forward. No, we are under truth. The soldiers hesitated. One by one, they lowered their weapons. The air changed. Inside the chamber, Sarah placed the voice band on her wrist. She took a deep breath, and she spoke. Sisters, daughters, mothers, hear me. We were never broken. We were never cursed. We were never mad. They feared us. But fear ends today. Her voice echoed beyond the stone, beyond the trees, into the hearts of every Velari woman across the land. Jace looked at her with awe. You didn't just remember. You restored. Sarah turned toward the entrance. They came to silence me. But now we speak together. Asterisk, the face of the forgotten queen. The morning sky turned gold as the voices spread across Veradara. Sarah's message, carried through the ancient voice band, echoed not just in ears, but in hearts. Across the mountains, valleys, and stone cities, Velari women paused mid-step, their breath caught in their throats. It was not just a message. It was a wake-up call. Old memories stirred. Forgotten feelings returned. A fire long buried now flickered. Again behind silver veils. And one by one, those veils began to fall. On the grassy hill above the hidden chamber, Elder Macon stood still, eyes wide. Around him, the female soldiers who once obeyed without question were now removing their face coverings. Some cried. Some laughed quietly. Others simply stared into their own reflection on the polished metal of their weapons. He barked, "This is treason." But his voice trembled. For the first time in his long life, no one listened. Underground, Sarah stood in front of the cracked mirror wall inside the chamber. Jace stood beside her, watching as new energy flowed into her movements. She was no longer trembling, no longer unsure. She had become something else. Something more. Do you feel it? She asked, eyes still closed. Jace nodded. The whole world just shifted. The shattered mirror began to glow. Not from technology, from memory, from truth. Suddenly, the pieces of the mirror lifted into the air, floating, turning, aligning like puzzle fragments. Jay stepped back. What's happening? A bright light formed in the center. And from it, a figure stepped out. Not flesh, not ghost, a living memory. Queen Alaris. She stood tall, her presence more real than any dream. Her silver robes moved like waves. Her eyes sparkled with power and peace. Sarah dropped to her knees. "My queen," Alaris smiled. "No, child, rise. A queen kneels to no one." Sarah stood slowly, eyes wet. "You were erased," Alaris nodded. "But memory cannot be destroyed. It waits. It waits for someone brave enough to remember." Jace whispered. "Is she alive?" Sarah shook her head. "She's truth. And truth is never truly dead." Alaris raised her hand, and the chamber walls lit up with ancient visions. Velari cities led by women, families living with balance, men and women equal, peaceful, proud. Then came the fall. Images of fire, of frightened elders, of silver veils forced upon daughters. "We ruled with light," Alaris said. "But they chose shadow. Not because we were weak, but because we were strong." She turned to Sarah. "You carry my bloodline. But more than that, you carry my fire. You have already done what I could not." Sarah's hand shook. "I don't know how to lead a world." Alaris stepped closer. "Then don't lead them with orders. Lead them with truth. Remind them of their faces, and they will walk with you." Above ground, the sky darkened not with storm clouds, but with ships. The Elder Council, realizing their power was slipping, had summoned the Central Authority, a distant controlling force that didn't care about history or rights. Only order. From the lead ship, a new voice echoed. "This is a class of memory violation. All citizens return to your quarters. Resistance will be erased." Sarah, still in the chamber, heard the voice through the broken stone. Jace clenched his fists. "They're bringing outsiders now. They're scared." Sarah turned to Alaris. "What do I do?" Alaris smiled. "Show them your face." Sarah stepped out of the chamber. All around, Velari women stood in silence, hundreds now, forming a ring around the ruins. They looked at her, not as a stranger, but as one of them. She stood on a stone platform, face uncovered, silver eyes glowing. The skyship above aimed a light beam at her. A synthetic voice called down. "You are the origin of the legal broadcast. Identify yourself." Sarah raised the mirror in her hand. "I am Sarah, daughter of Vale, granddaughter of the light, and I will not hide anymore." The beam stayed fixed on her. "I am not your enemy, but I am your reflection. And if my face frightens you, it is because it shows the truth." Suddenly, a humming sound rippled through the crowd. One by one, Velari women lifted reflective pieces, metal plates, broken glass, old crystals. Each woman turned them toward the sky. The sun hit the mirrors, and the light blinded the ship above. Thousands of faces reflected back at the oppressors. Jace whispered, "They're reflecting the truth upward, making them see what they tried to erase." Ilaris's voice echoed once more in Sarah's mind. "You were never meant to be silent. You were meant to shine." On board the Central Authority ship, the control officers covered their eyes, overwhelmed by the piercing glare. Orders crackled through the radios. Then, one by one, the ships turned. They left. The Council's last defense had blinked. Macon fell to his knees, staring at Sarah as if seeing her for the first time. "You've destroyed our way," he whispered. Sarah stepped toward him. "No," she said softly. "I've only destroyed your lie." As the light faded and the people gathered around her, Sarah finally understood what it meant to be a queen. Not to rule with fear, but to awaken with truth. Reflections of revolution. The wind on Veradara was quiet now. No more warships. No more sirens. Just the soft rustling of leaves and the sound of feet, hundreds of them, gathered in the ruins of the hidden chamber. Velari women stood together, uncovered, united. For the first time in generations, they were not hiding. They were breathing as one. Sarah stood at the front, her silver eyes steady. The cracked mirror behind her still glowed faintly, and beside her, Jay stood silent, watching history being reborn. Queen. Ilaris's voice was gone now, but her legacy lived in every open face. A little girl walked up to Sarah, no older than 7. Her veil dangled in her hand. Her eyes were wide. "Are we allowed to smile now?" she asked. Sarah knelt and gently touched the girl's cheek. "Yes," she said softly. "You're allowed to smile. You're allowed to see. You're allowed to be." The girl smiled, a small giggle escaping her lips. That sound echoed through the crowd like music. And soon, others joined, laughter, warm, honest laughter like rain falling on dry ground. Gace stepped closer to Sarah. "You've done what no one else could." Sarah shook her head. "I didn't do it alone. You gave me the mirror." Jace smiled. "I just wanted to say thank you." She looked at him. It was more than a gift. It was a spark. A mirror doesn't create truth. It only reflects what's already there. In the capital, the Elder Council Tower stood empty. The people had walked away. Elder Macon remained behind, alone in his stone hall, his hands resting on the last sealed veil. He had ruled with fear. Now fear had abandoned him. He looked at his reflection in a small water bowl. He had not seen his own face in 50 years, and he did not like what he saw. Back in the forest, Sarah stood before her people. "Many of you are asking what happens now?" She began, her voice strong but gentle. "We do not seek revenge, we seek rebirth." She pointed to the sky, where the last rays of the sun reflected off pieces of mirror still held by the crowd. "We rebuild. Not the old way, but the true way. We teach our daughters their faces are not shameful. We teach our sons that strength is not control, that is understanding." A cheer rose through the air. That night, torches lit the path to the mountain. Valari women carried stones and crystals from the ruins. They rebuilt the Hall of Truth, this time not hidden underground, but standing tall in the open. Under stars. Sey buzzed the silver voice band in the center. "This belongs to all of us now," she said. "Our voice, our memory, our truth." The chamber filled with light once more, but not from technology. From unity. From healing. Later, as the fire dimmed and the crowd slowly returned to their villages, Jace and Sarah sat on a high ledge overlooking the glowing forest. Jace turned to her. "What will you do now? Rule as queen?" Sarah smiled faintly. "No, not queen. We don't need rulers. We need reminders." He tilted his head. "Reminders?" She nodded. "Faces that remind us of who we are, of what we must never forget." Again, Jace looked up at the stars. "Will I be allowed to stay?" Sarah looked at him gently. "You showed me my reflection. You reminded me I had one. There will always be a place for you here." They sat in silence for a moment. Then she added softly, "Besides, someone has to teach us how to argue like humans." Jace laughed. "First lesson, sarcasm." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "We'll start tomorrow." Months passed. The mirror ban was officially ended. The council dissolved itself. A new system of circle governance was created. Equal voices, shared leadership, open memory. Young girls were given mirrors at birth, not as decoration, but as a symbol of self-worth. Boys were taught to listen, to question power, and to stand with truth, not above it. Songs returned to the cities. And for the first time in 500 years, Veridara's skies felt warm. One evening, an old trader ship landed at the forest edge. The pilot, seeing Jace and Sarah walking nearby, called out, "Hey, this the planet where mirrors are banned?" Jace smiled and looked at Seyra. She answered, "Not anymore." She handed the pilot a small mirror. "Take this," she said, "and next time you see someone hiding, give them one." The pilot scratched his head. "What if they're not allowed?" "Then," Sarah said, smiling, "they need it even more." And So across the stars, small silver mirrors began to appear on distant worlds, in forgotten homes, placed gently in open hands. No words needed, just reflection, just truth.